Alright, we are here with the Professor after his glorious showing at Regionals. Professor made top 32 with battling boxers. How does that feel, Professor?
Screw the meta.
Screw the meta.
Bound boxers all day. Took over Dragon Rulers, Mermails, everything else.
This domination, like, what was your easiest matchup?
Easiest matchup, probably Mermails. Second easiest, probably Dragons. Dragonies were a little harder, but Crimson Blader all day.
Crimson Blader for days. Now we gotta get into what actually beat this deck. We know you only lost 3 times.
Yeah. First loss was in round 5. I got fire fisted. I mean, I opened decent. He opened the nuts. He had every single counter to everything I had both games. So then I got Inferno looped 2 games in a row. That was awesome. And in round 9, I was tired. Made lead yoke when I should have made Crimson Blader. Lost to Dragonity Rulers. Felt bad, man.
No.
But you know what?
Overall,
I'm taking boxers to Nats.
You got that Nat, so that's all that matters. When you're ready, we can get right into this. People are waiting for this.
Yeah. A few people have wanted this deck list.
Perfect. We got to show off your mat here. Look at this mat here.
Custom made.
The custom made mat.
Made by Ryan's Interested on Reddit. Check him out. He's awesome.
That's beautiful. And it makes a statement.
That these boxers are about to knock you the out.
Yeah, Mama said knock you out.
Lava. I heard that a lot. Alright. So let's get started with the core of the deck here.
Let's go into it.
Start with triple Glassjaw. He's your star of the deck. Gets him back from the grave. Makes the Switchitter loop. He's just a really awesome card to have. Plus, he makes Masked Chameleon usable with that 0 defense.
Good boy.
Headgeared. On-theme Foolish Burial is always awesome. Run 3. Plus, his battle protection effects comes in handy way more often than I'd like for it to, but it's general just good Yu-Gi-Ohs. 3 Switchitter. It's a monster reborn on legs for your deck. The restriction doesn't really matter because usually when you summon him, you're making lead yoke. And if you have a Glassjaw engraved, you can loop him over and over and just make as many lead yokes as you want. Your opponent destroys one? Cool, you got another one right behind it. Just 2 Sparrer. His battle phase restriction can be gotten over by making him a main phase 2. A lot of people do not know that. If they think anything otherwise, they are wrong because they are bad at Yu-Gi-Oh!
Did you have to call a judge over for that any?
Surprisingly, I didn't. I had to call a judge a few times on Glassjaw's effect, but not on Sparrer. Anywho, 2 Maxx, 2 Valor, hand traps. Maxx kills Dragon Rulers dead. Valor saved my butt so many times from Big Eyes.
Except in that last game.
Shut up. No, except for that last game. That's true. I wasted it early.
Oh, shit.
2 Blaster. I run it like a hand trap. Usually if I'm summoning him from the grave, I've already lost. But as a free MST, filling up my grave, best possible hand when your opponent has just 1 back row is 1 Glassjaw, 1 Blaster, and 1 Switchitter. Because then you set up your lead yoke and you blow up the card.
Amazing.
2 Photon Thrasher. He's good for making my first turn plays like King Pharaoh Imps, and he's really good for making Lavalval Chains. Plus, he's got 0 defense again, which makes him really useful with Masked Chameleon.
Masked Chameleon.
This guy is what lets me go into so many level 8 synchros like Crimson Blader, Scrap Dragon. He's just all around good, and plus, he doesn't have an exceed restriction, so if you summon something else and you don't want to go for that synchro, great, you just overlay.
Yeah. Cowboy for games.
Yep, so let's clear those off. We'll move on to spells.
The monster lineup.
Yep. We got 1 Foolish. In a deck as graveyard oriented as this one, you gotta have Foolish Burial. It's just a fact.
Gotta have the Foolish.
Plus, look at that sexy DT Foolish. Rhoda. I actually have a Hobby League one, but of course, regionals, they don't like those Hobby League cards. So, next best thing. The core of your deck's Warriors. Why would you not run Rhoda?
Why not?
Dark Hole, Staple, next. 2 MST. It's not the set 5 format everyone thought it would be, but there's a lot of threats that MST gets over before they become any sort of threat to me. Plus, it feels so good to chain 1 to an Abyss Sphere. Just troll for days.
I know, I knew no judge got called on that one.
Yeah, the guy didn't know the ruling on continuous traps. It was hilarious.
He was refused to believe you, too, so look at the judge over here.
But, yeah, it got taken care of. It's a cool guy, just misinformed.
Yeah.
2 Lance. That one really put in some work in the Mermail matchup, because if they make Gaios and I haven't detached from Lead Yoke yet, I'm screwed. But if they activate Gaios effect and I chain Lance, Gaios attack is 2,000 at effect resolution. So it's like, oh, cool, Lead Yoke's still bigger, have fun.
You lucky then, I never did enjoy.
And the star spell of the deck, and something that I never even considered main decking until Boojins became a thing, 2 Kaiser Colosseum. That card just is broken. And
Tell us about the work.
I expect to see that card on a ban list in the future, because it's just like Macrocosmos, it's just like Soul Drain, it's just like Deep Fissure, all kinds of other cards that got banned because they just don't let your opponent play Yu-Gi-Oh! These days, that means special summoning a bunch of monsters to make your bigger monsters, right? Well, this card, if I have Lead Yoke on the field and you don't have an MST, then you only get 1 monster, 1 chance to get over my Lead Yoke, and even if you do somehow summon something bigger, like say a Blaster, my Lead Yoke just gets bigger. What are you going to do about that?
It's just going to get bigger until...
Oh my.
That is legit.
So that's all the spells.
Not many spells.
No, I only run I believe this build has 20 monsters, 9 spells, 11 traps. Don't quote me on that, because I'm probably dead wrong at something.
Somebody's going to count and prove you wrong.
But anywho, for the trap lineup, we got 1 Warning. Judgment's hit, but I never really liked running Judgment anyways. But Warning, just the fact that it's a counter trap and it negates rather than stopping the monster after it's summoned, it's just too strong.
Sometimes you just got to stop that one monster.
1 Mirror Force. I hate Boojins. That's pretty much it, really.
No double Mirror Force?
I don't run a second one just because it's not usually a card I need to see, because I want Lead Yoke to take a few hits. And that's also why I don't run Counter Punches, for anyone who's wondering.
Right.
I don't run Counter Punches just because if I have a Lead Yoke on the field, I don't need Counter Punch. And if I have something else, I probably don't need it anyways.
You want that Glassjaw to hit the...
Anywho.
I'm sure people are wondering about that, yeah.
1 TT. I would run more, but it's been hit, of course. This card is just broken because, for the same reason as the Dark Hole. Your opponent has a field full of crap. They summon one more thing, try to get game on you. Torrential Tribute. Not only do you blow up their field, you trigger Glassjaw's effect. Or not Glass... If you have a Glassjaw summon, you trigger him. You trigger Lead Yoke. If the Lead Yoke detaches Glassjaw, you trigger that too. It's just stupid broken.
This plays for days.
Yep. 1 Compulse. Kills Big Eyes dead.
Hey Travis, Bill,
Yo.
you guys know if either Fox Brothers or Booth or...
I don't know if they're coming today. Anywho, after that, 2 Fiendish Chains. It's a Valor in trap form, plus it stops him from attacking. It gets you a lot of time if you need it.
Yeah.
And now we get to the weird text. 2 XYZ Reflect. That card, it stops Compulse, it stops Constellar Pleiades, Jables. It stops Big Eye. If we're targeting your XYZ monsters, especially Lead Yoke, it's usually because they got something to stop them.
Or don't forget, if you're versing Final Countdown, you can burn your opponent with that by targeting your own monster.
Oh, that was the best play ever. So for those of you who don't know, I was facing a stall deck recently, and we were in time, and the difference in our life was 100 in his favor, and I was on last turn. What I did was I made Lavalval Chain in defense mode, and then made Photon Papilloperative, used its effect to target the chain and chain XYZ Reflect. It just says that your opponent takes 800 damage, not the person that activates the effect. So burn him for game. That actually happened.
Salt overdose.
And then finally, 2 Imperial Iron Wall. Dragons are big. It's just a no-brainer to main deck this format. I did it over Vanity's Emptiness just because Vanity's has a lot more drawbacks than Imperial Iron Wall. And the only card in this deck that Iron Wall really hurts is Blaster. And like I said before, if you're summoning Blaster, you're probably already in a bad position anyways.
Yeah.
So that takes care of the main deck. Now we get to the extra deck.
This extra deck.
Obviously, we're starting off with 3 Battlin Boxer Lead Yokes. The card is broken, and if he was generic, everyone would run 3. I'm dead serious on this, because just something that can get up to 3,800 and has protection from any sorts of destruction, card effect, or battle, it's stupid.
Like, for the first, how long did you run it without realizing it goes to 3,800?
Oh god, I went undefeated 4 weeks in a row at Locals before I realized that he could actually go to 3,800. Until I lost the Gravekeepers, yes.
And Frosty.
Lavalval Chain. Card's $30 for a reason. It's a free foolish twice in a row if your opponent doesn't get rid of it. and it's a free top deck. You can stack your deck legally. I don't have anything else to say about that. That's just a thing.
Like there's some cards that are like
King of the Feral Imps, free double tutor for Masked Chameleon. It's ridiculous how good this card can be first turn, especially if your opponent doesn't get rid of it. That means you plus really hard off this card. Photon Pappy. Now, a lot of people were telling me to take this out for a Colossal Fighter or something, but I left it in. It wins games against Draco Sack, and it wins games against anything set in defense. I actually gamed someone off pappying their defense mode Linde. Oh, that was fun. Maestroke, exact opposite. Sometimes you just need something to stay down. Plus, his effect actually triggers Glassjaw as well. Gagaga Cowboy, the 800 burn, 2 OP.
Well, uses the attack mode effect apparently.
I mean, you could. I've never ran into a situation where I needed to.
Yeah.
Abyss Dweller stops Marmel's dead, and actually, if for some ungodly reason you have to face a mirror match, maybe?
Hey, something to think about.
Number 105, another controversial pick, but if you get him on the field at the same time as Lady Yoke, which is not as hard as you would think it is, it just wins games. Because now, even if your opponent's got you low, they're not going to be able to attack over you and do any damage. They're just going to have to take it themselves. Wind-up Zenmaines, he's only in there in case I run into XYZ Encore, because not only is he good at stalling, as everyone knows, it used to be $70 for a reason, but also he too triggers Glassjaw effect. So if you Encore me, you better watch out.
He's prepared for everything.
Now, this is where my Armadas would be, if I have one. I've got one, but it's not with me right now, so instead that day I ran Catastor. Catastor's still good, it's just not as good as Armada is in this format, just because he stops things like Honest, he stops Djinn, period. He's just really good, but Catastor is still a force to be reckoned with. Now, next we got, of course, Stardust Dragon. I can make level 8s, why would I not run Stardust? Plus, his German name is really fun to say. Sternenstabdrach.
I don't think we can see that on
Yeah, that webcam quality. So
damn color.
Scrap Dragon, Scrap Yoke is no joke. If you get Scrap Dragon out and Lead Yoke, you basically get to pop something on your opponent's field for free and boost your Lead Yoke by 800 attack and potentially get a Glassjaw effect off. Because that's not broken at all.
Them combos, man.
And Crimson Blader kills Karakuris, kills Mermails, kills Dragon Rulers, kills Dragoonides. If you name a deck this format that's not Djinns, Fire Fist, or Infernos, well, if they're running Synchro Infernos, it kills that too. So if really, almost any major deck this format, that card's good against. It's just ridiculous how strong he is.
Yeah, boy.
Last but not least, we got the side deck. And I made a few weird tech choices here, but I think you'll all understand the reasoning behind them. Firstly, 2 DD Warrior Ladies. I run Rhoda, so that is a searchable out to the dreaded Master Key Beetle Safe Zone lock. Because it doesn't target, it just banishes straight up. Safe Zone can't stop that. One more MST. I've got 2 in the main deck, but never hurts to have more spell and trap destruction. 2 deck lockdown. Side this in usually against Mermails and Djinns. It doesn't hurt my deck at all because all my tutoring's done through the grave. The only card that it might have any effect on is King of the Feral Imps and Reinforcement, but usually if I've got that on the field, I've already done that if I've got it. I mean, why would that'd just be bad Yu-Gi-Ohs if I played it and then tried to do it. 2 traps done. Card's better than Royal Decree in this format in my deck because my deck's fairly trap heavy, so if I want just my opponent to feel the effects, it's basically a Royal Oppression for traps.
Yeah.
2 Light Imprisoning Mirrors. I don't like Constellars. They're kind of annoying with my deck. Plus it stops Djinns from getting their searching, which is where most of their momentum comes from. I keep mentioning Djinns, but I didn't face any of the regional.
Should have put Shadow Mirrors in.
Yeah, I really should have. Although I wouldn't have drawn them, so whatever.
Yeah.
2 Breakthrough Skill. More effect negation, stops a lot of important cards in this format. Plus, you can use it twice. Being able to banish it in the graveyard is really good as well if your opponent's got something like, say, a Draco Sack that you need to get over. 2 debunks. card kills Mermails again, kills Dragon Rulers, because if they try to discard a dragon for its effect, and you banish it, then it's not going to give them the search because they've already tried to use one of its effects. Same as the duality gets negated, you still can't special summon Ruin.
Yeah.
And finally, 2 vanities, emptiness. Card's just too good not to be run in some form in this format. Yeah, they can MST you and get a +1, but think about it. They got 3 MSTs in that deck. What's the chance they're going to draw 1 on any given turn? You're looking at maybe a 1 in 10 chance at the most. Those are good odds to me. So that's Boxers.
Any final notes on this?
Only other thing to say is that if you're wanting to build this deck, it's not... There's a few tech choices that I didn't run for personal reasons, but that you could easily try. Like I said, Counterpunch, I don't like it, but, I mean, it is a free honest. Plus, with the new Cheat Commissioner coming out next set, it might be good to run 1 and a Crane to make him. On top of that, you can also run Xyz Reborn or Safe Zone. Reborn keeps getting out your Lady Yoke, and Safe Zone, yeah, you won't be able to attack directly, but now you're immune to any kind of target effects. It's just really good. But this is really, if you get lowest rarity on everything and aren't like me and wanting to get like maxed everything, you can build this deck pretty cheap. It's almost, I wouldn't call it budget because some of the extra deck stuff, like especially Lavalval Chain, that's non-negotiable. You gotta have one. But it's pretty close.
Pretty cool.
But yeah, aside from that, fun deck. Proves that you don't have to have meta to win.
You get it in there. Don't you tell them your place? What place did you get?
Out of 279, I placed 30th and got my invite with that.
Yeah, boy. You got in there with Battlin Boxers. All day people was talking about this guy.
Yeah, every time I would go up to someone and I'd be their opponent, I'd be sitting there and I'm like, hey, what's up? And they'd be like, you're Battlin Boxer guy. And nobody knew my name, of course. It was just Battlin Boxer guy,
yeah,
you know.
Mr. BB.
Yeah.
Battlin Boxer.
Mr. Balboa.
Yeah. Rocky Balboa here with them battlers. What? Topping with Battlin Boxers. Crazy shit going on. This is the deck profile, guys. Any final thing you want to throw out here before we go?
Shout out to Team Jerry Beans. Shout out to Reddit, /r Yu-Gi-Oh! You know who you are. And also, shout out to friggin' Desmond Johnson, Mr. Karakuri King. Sat next to him in one of his games, and he let one of his teammates win because he already had his invite. I thought that was cool as hell. Plus, he was an awesome guy, so give him a shout out too.
All right.
Even though he doesn't need it from some nobody like me.
Well, you're about to be somebody. Winning Nats. That's what you're going to do now.
Win Nats with Battlin Boxers.
Get in there.
Well, forget it. Maybe next time I'll just win Nats with Skull Servants.
Whatever it is, you're going to do it. You're going to go all the way. What? This is Jables with the Professor for Team Jerry Beans, and looks like we're out now.